using the contour shape can be, or the contour tool can be a little daunting. It kind of, like, the name doesn't really represent what it is, right? When you think of contour, you think of like a curve or a shape. And in this case, it means shape, but it's like a shape that you're going to hide and not cut, or expose and then cut. So just the idea of the word in itself isn't really like super intuitive. And the other thing is, when you're in Design Space, you don't have really an eraser tool. And so you think that you're kind of stuck with what's on your screen because you can't figure out how to get rid of it, but that's what the contour tool is for. So that's what we're going to go over and discuss today. And the first thing I did was I uploaded some images that I want to use, but I also wanted to show you how this works with Cricut Design Space, or Cricut Access. I don't have a Cricut Access membership. I did for a while, but I found I wasn't using the images often enough to kind of justify the cost. And I have experience in Adobe Illustrator, and so usually if I want something, I just make it myself. Every now and then, though, you find an image that you either bought somewhere or that you got for free, you downloaded, like the ones that are for free in my shop, and maybe you want to change or alter that just a little bit, like, and I'm going to show you how to do that with some of the files that I currently have also. So let's say that we wanted this coffee one right here that's free currently in Cricut Access, and I click it and I insert the image into my project. And I like this coffee cup, but I don't necessarily want the smile on him, right? So what I could do is just go ahead and cut out the design anyway and not worry about using those pieces, but it's going to cut those holes inside of this section of the coffee cup, so that doesn't work. So once your object is highlighted, if you click on contour, it'll show you all the different parts and cuts in that file. So this is showing you that your Cricut is going to follow this outside edge, and it's going to cut this coffee cup out, okay? And then it's also going to cut this shape right here, which is the center where that face is. It's going to cut this bottom piece, okay? It's going to cut this top section, and it's going to cut the smile. And you'll notice that over here, it's either white, or I can gray it out by clicking on it. And when it's grayed out, it's no longer going to show up or cut. Okay, so I'm going to leave these, but I'm going to take the face out first, and we're going to look at it. So I'm going to X out, and now I've got my coffee cup, but it no longer has a face on it. Perfect. Now, what if I don't want this top band? I just want, or this bottom band, I just want like the band across the center that's kind of like a sleeve. Well, then I just go back into my contour, and you don't have to move it down so that you can see the whole image. It just works for this purpose right now. I don't want the bottom band, and I don't want the top band. I just want it to cut this center band so it looks like the cozy, okay? So now what it's going to do is it's going to cut out my coffee cup, and then it's going to cut out this chunk as well. So if we went to make it, you'd see that I've got two pieces ready to cut there, or actually just the one piece. It's going to cut out just that, and it's going to have the hollow space behind it. So I could use this material for something else, or I can cut it again in a different color and use that. I can make this coffee cup see-through that way. When in doubt about what it's going to cut, I always just click on the make it so I can see what it's going to look like on the board, okay? So I'm going to go back in, and not that it matters, but I'm going to turn on this bottom and top just so we have our coffee cup back again, okay? Maybe you liked the little, I can't ever think of the name, the kawaii face that was on this coffee cup, and you don't actually want the coffee cup. So you would just, I'm going to actually hide all contours and then go through and just make the face, okay? So, and he's on the coffee cup that way, and then I just have to like hide the coffee cup shape, okay? So now I have that kawaii face, and I could use it on something else, right? So it's pretty much opening up the possibility for you to take out bits and pieces of any object, as long as it came into Design Space as a SVG or a cut file. If it were a print file, let's go here, let's delete this, we're done with it. Let's say I wanted to use this one, and this is actually uploaded as a print and cut, okay? So what's going to happen is it's going to send it to my printer, it's going to print these black lines, and then it's going to cut its outside. Well, contouring doesn't work for me on this one because these aren't actual cut lines, okay? The eyeballs and the nose and the cheeks and the little sushi hat here on the rice ball don't actually cut, they print. So watch this. I'm going to turn this to a no fill to show that it's not going to print, it's just going to cut. And this is my shape, okay? And it's one solid shape. So it's not going to give me that contour option because there's nothing in here for me to take out or add into this shape. It's one solid shape. The blade, the Cricut blade is never going to pick up and move to something else to cut. So it doesn't give me that option to contour and remove parts. If I wanted to trim down the side, I could get creative and maybe put a shape over the top of it and slice it, right? Like I could take this tail off, but I'm going to have this hard, sharp, flat edge because I can't really contour anything. Sorry, contour being the wrong word there. I can't really curve or move or adjust any of these shapes in here in a natural pattern or in a drawing pattern, okay? You can't draw in Design Space. You can just use these general shapes that they already have for you or the things that you upload. Okay, so we're done with that one. So let's look at, let's see what this one was. I can't remember. Oh, okay. The mountains are calling. So my daughter wanted this one for one of her tumblers. What if you didn't want these trees here? What if you just wanted the mountains are calling? Well, the whole design is grouped, so this makes it a little bit easier for us to remove things because we can just turn off parts, right? And they're not going to cut now because this actually came in multiple pieces. Let's say it hadn't come in multiple pieces and I didn't have the option to turn off layers over here like I am. That's where your contour comes in, okay? So we're going to ungroup and then so like this part here is all grouped together and my mountains and my trees are all together. And I don't want to cut the trees. So I'm going to go to contour and I'm going to turn the trees off. And in this case, it's going to be a little messed up just because of the way this one was designed. You'll notice it wasn't just solid mountains by itself and then trees by itself. The way that the design made it look, they're connected right here, right? So it's telling me that that there's actually two different pieces to it, but they're still overlapping each other, right? So the mountains and the trees are connected here. There's a workaround on that though, okay? So let's just hide the words right now because we don't want those. We can put in a quick little shape here. Let's just do the square and unlock the proportions so that it's really tiny. And we're just gonna kind of slice right here underneath this tree. I think I can rotate it just a little too, so it looks a little more natural. And then I'm gonna copy and paste that to duplicate it, and I'm gonna do the same thing right about in here. And then I'm gonna slice the whole thing. And it's not letting me because, there we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. Okay, so now I should be able to turn, let's see if we can turn off parts. We might just be making a mess out of this too, it's hard to say. We'll just see what we get. There we go. So now they're not connected anymore, so it's not seeing this as a separate line from the trees or like a similar line as the negative space in these trees. It was seeing this negative space attached to this negative space because we were connected right there. So now I can hide the trees and just have my mountains. And it's a little messy right there where I cut with the slice tool, but I can clean that up. Like you can use a shape tool and kind of make it a little bit smaller. It's kind of a pain because you can't just like slide to erase. You're going to have to do it multiple times, but it's still possible, right? So I'm going to slice, and then I'm actually going to just rotate this one and delete that out. and slice. And the other thing you could do is you could just have it cut out, and then when you're all done, just kind of use your scissors or an X-Acto knife to kind of trim some pieces off too. It doesn't, I mean, your Cricut's there to make it easier for you, but don't spend forever doing something fidgety and fussy like this on the computer when you know you can just use scissors when you're all done and trim that really easily, or an X-Acto knife. Okay, but there we go. So that was the contour and how we were able to hide other parts, right, of the design. And then I'm not sure where they all went, so you might not be able to get those back without doing an undo, because it looks like I like totally eradicated those trees. But anyway, when in doubt, reinsert your image and try again. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one. Let's move on to, I'm going to delete that. We've got this one here. Let's say this is a design that I offer in the shop. And let's say we don't want it to say baseball mom, we actually want it to say baseball dad. Okay, so we can ungroup, and in this case, we could just remove the mom, right, and delete those out, and then add the dad in. But if it were connected to our design and we needed to hide it, or let's say, let's do this. Let's weld those together. So now I can't go in and remove anything from it. I could go into the contour and let's say I don't want these dots to cut out, right? So I can take those and remove them so that it just says mom, which just looks silly, but that's just an example of what the contour is there for us to do, okay? Let's do this. Let's see what happens when we weld this together. It's so small that it's not seeing that circle in there. So let's make this bigger and weld it. Oh, it still doesn't like it. I'm not sure why, but sometimes when you weld, it just does not like to keep one of the cutting things. Anyway, if this were all welded together, that would be another example of where we would use the contour to take this circle out of the heart so that it was just a straight heart without the cut in the center to make it look like an O, right? So just because you find a design doesn't mean that you're stuck with it the way that it is, okay? You can always change it. Let's say, we're just going to do one thing too. So this, I think we could do, let me ungroup this. Yeah, okay, so if we were to type the word baseball, and let's just pretend that we've got a super similar font here as this one that we used in the design, you can't go through and contour out, let's ungroup it, and take the center out of that B, right? It's just part of the text. It's the way it is. You can't alter this. You can retype it as a different letter, but you can't actually like go in and erase that center out if you wanted to and put a different shape in there. But this one here actually came in as a shape. It didn't come in as text. So you'll notice I get the contour button down there. I can click it and I can take that O out, or the center of the B out, and put something else in there. Maybe I want to put this heart in there and cut it out. So let's copy and paste that and make it smaller. And I'm just going to make it white so that we can see it. Okay, so I can change the way that this text looks because it's actually an object. It's not text. This is text. Well, what if you're typing in Cricut Design Space on your own and you're not designing in Illustrator and uploading this as an SVG? Okay, I'm going to show you a trick. So we're going to delete this because we don't need it anymore. And we're going to take this text that we have, that we made, that's no longer grouped and is going to be a pain. And we're going to move it up here. And then we're going to pull out, let's change this color just so we can see it really well. And then we're going to make a shape. And we're going to undo the proportion. And then we're going to select the whole thing. Let's see. I might have to group this. I don't remember. Sometimes when you select, it doesn't like, it's not giving me the slice. Weld. Okay. There we go. So I had to weld my text together so that it was no longer a text. Okay. And so now actually I might not even have to go as far as I was going to go and do some slicing. I think we can, okay, but it's not going to ungroup, but we have contour, so we could take this center out and do it that way. The other thing I was going to do was just like slice it out of the shape so that I had the text again, but it wasn't doing that until I welded the text. So you have to make it so the text is not editable anymore, which is welding it. Okay, so it's no longer a text object. Once you weld it, it becomes a shape object. Okay, so I'm just hitting undo right now to show you. I had all of these letters individually, and I don't think that I could, oh, I could slice with just the one. It was just being a pain. So let's do this. Let's do the B. So I selected the B because that's the one I want to take the center out of, and then I selected this shape. And so I don't have to weld it together and ruin all of my text. Not that it would matter because I'm not going to go back and edit it after this anyway, but I could slice and then delete the rectangle and delete that color. No, I want that color. I want this B to go away. And then I could contour and take this out and turn this orange to match. And then I could put the heart or a baseball or whatever in there, right? So in this case, I didn't necessarily ruin the ability to edit the rest of this word. I only ruined the ability to edit that B. But if you've already typed the word and you know what you want, it doesn't really matter if you can't edit it anymore anyway. Okay, because if all else fails, you just type it again and continue messing with it. Okay, last one, because I think you're kind of getting the idea of contour at this point. The whole design came in again, and it's pretty easy for me to just go through and edit the parts that I don't want. Like, let's say I wanted to take the us and the line out. I can just delete those, and now I'm just left with the B. And I'm going to ungroup this so that I can move the B. And I think, yeah, he came in like a ton of parts also. So, but let's pretend that he came in like all one solid part and you wanted to change some of his features, and you don't have the ability to just change the color or delete a piece out from over here. I'm going to group, actually I'm going to weld. So now I've got this B, and he's just a solid B. I can't do anything with him unless I go over here to the contour, and then I can choose some of his little lines that I don't want to cut out, or I do want to cut out. Let's say for some reason I just didn't want these back legs, right? So I could click on those, and now they're gone. That just makes him look silly, but you get the idea. Okay, or maybe I don't need to cut this bottom half of him out because I just want the top half of him, right? Maybe it's going to be like crawling through a honeycomb or something, or it's coming out of the words. You can turn this part off. And in this case, he's got these little wing pieces here that are going to be a royal pain to cut. So those would be things you'd want to turn off too. That's part of a leg. All these little dotty things here. You don't want all those just chattering around on your Cricut, so I'm taking those out. Okay. And now I just have a B bottom that maybe I wanted to attach or make come out of something, like maybe it's coming out of this here. Oops, that's not connected. Okay. The point is you can use the contour to rearrange and redesign most files so that they fit your needs and what it is that you want to make. So just because it's presented in one way doesn't mean that you can't turn it into something else. Like I just made a completely different cut file, an SVG, out of sweet bees with a full bee, and now I've got sweet bees and a little bottom hanging out, right? And I could maybe put like a little honey pot or flower or something there so it looks like he's crawling around inside a flower. So don't think that just because you see it the way it is what you're stuck with and you have to cut it out and waste materials. You can use that contour tool and change a file to fit your needs and your crafts and save some materials, or make it fit your personality and make it unique. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know.